I'm sitting inside, watching some videos this afternoon, and I started thinking about the things that I'm most grateful for, namely, my trusted higher power, and my good family relationships with those who have gone before me. I was thinking about the most vexing problems our society faces these days, as well, and I think that such is thus. In every young group, there will be one or two who tend to stay to themselves, and who may not socialize as well as the others. The problem is that, in modern life, certain issues arise at a point, and some people will be social and will talk about it, and others will deal with it in a solitary way. I myself was someone who dealt with problems by staying to myself, mushing through the troubles, and living in the same way, despite the hurt, and more than once, I ended up self-isolating and hurting myself. I was shown, early in life, the way to use artistic expression to work through and deal with my life trouble in visual design and musical recording, and through writing things out. If we are able to make an art from out of our painful narratives, then I think that can be good. I have done this myself many times, and many of these art forms and expressions are still with me. So, troubles and problems always arise in our lives, and when we can internalize them, and process them, and turn them into art, then we can speak objectively about our issues, and see the good they may encompass, and see them for their problems as well. So, this in essence is why I believe in therapeutic art expression. And I've gone by this way for at least 25 years of my life, and not actually articulated such in words. But, in this writing, I'm trying to relate my thoughts about this, and speak of some of the good and bad ways such has resulted in my life. The path of art therapy works sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. Twice in my life, I was on this path, and I should have sought out human contact, and related with real people. But I self-isolated, and so I got a bad outcome. My life got extremely darkened, and depressed, and I made a serious attempt to end my own life. The idea I'm trying to relate is that some art is quite dark, and heavy, and moody in tone. This enters in any media, music, visual art, writing. These dark choices in art therapy always make therapists feel empathy, and sometimes they have to see someone come to a near-death experience, or self-injury. So, if you think that it would be fun working as a therapist, well, I think it might be. But you would have to see more than you bargained for, I think. So, you would have to be prepared for such an outcome. Well, I think of therapeutic paths, people that have cared about what I'm going through, and have looked at dark and light both. I think that the early artistic expression in a character might be the most profound. The first projects in an artistic path, starting therapeutically, might be the deepest. I myself made my first faltering steps, and quite quickly faced some personal nemesis. I think that this happens when one finishes wondering if your art will work, and, at a point, you get serious about your work, and this is when your deeper issues arise, through your own artistic expression, and sometimes in the greater world, with myself. This deeper expression led me off into more and more self-isolation. I think that people saw the end that I was coming to, and were powerless to stop me. I nearly died in my own self-made ruin. I'm writing about this now, because I think that especially now I see the importance of socializing and getting human contact. I think that when my work gets to be of a certain quality, such as my recent work, My Silver World, You'll Need Fire, and most recently, in my bark, moss, and flower, composite, human contact will be important. And I've got that human contact. So, in a time like this one, I think that we will see the importance of doing everything as you would ordinarily, and remembering not to fall into the usual traps of sensual relapses, or of inebriant usage of any kind. You may not think that you have a problem with these, and then be faced with something you have a hard time getting past without failing. One's life could really change in certain types of relapses. So, don't tell yourself that you're just immune, or that this time might be a pleasure cruise. That is to say, if you worried about drastic change in society, or in your life, remember not to let yourself make a drastic change. So, I'm going to cherish my present living arrangement, and do everything I have to do to keep it. Well, these are just a few thoughts. Today is Tuesday, the 4th one in January, this year. We've got clear, blue skies, and it's very cold this morning. 14 degrees, as we get ready to get over to the office for our medicines. I'm sitting inside, on this couch, and writing these ideas down, and in 30 minutes, I've got to get going. Having some writing started will give my mind a point of focus, for in case we have to get on the road to get over to the main office for a meeting. But, for now, I'm just enjoying the air-conditioned warmth inside this apartment, and looking out upon the day through my bedroom window. Right now, I'm looking forward to a thermos of strong tea brew, as soon as I can get back here. I'm listening to one of my homemade CDs, while I write these thoughts. My home manager filled me in, as to what to expect this week, as far as road trips go, and such as that, and so now, my belly should stop cramping so bad. I always seem to overthink, and worry over things that I don't have any choice about. The hardest thing about being in the mental health care system are appointments and meetings which I'm not told about until it's time to go. This is everyone's secret fear. But this is infrequent, thankfully. Is it a bad experience which shapes us in the negative way, or do we just not know any better than to act based on our prejudices and stereotypes? I myself think that God's discernment is enough, because we live in a just system, where justice prevails, and the honest truth comes out. Eventually, I believe that we can take shelter in strong beliefs like this in the state mental health care system, the same as in other forms of health care. We can, in general, count on being treated right, and not being treated wrongly. There are always patient advocate organizations, patient rights groups, which can be of assist. So, someone like myself can definitely rest in the hopes of being treated like a human being. If we've made a mistake in our past, we can get past it, and eventually get over it, all in that health organization. Because the patient is the focus. I've myself done self-work in the hospital, more than once, in coming to terms with society's standards and behavioral norms. So, I can't speak from experience. At any rate, this article has roamed through various topics, and it's starting to come to its conclusion now. So, I'll wrap these thoughts up and add them in with the others now. All for now, Greg. Till then I sit, this late January afternoon, and look just beneath the surface of my mind. I sketch around on my word processor page, looking for any cogent or concerted ideas to move this audiobook chapter along. I'm finding, today, that my resting state times are fewer, and I seem to be overthinking. Some days, this is how we confirm and affirm to ourselves that the day's work is hard. With this accomplished, I'll be in a better position to honestly receive the good help I'm given. I've seen recently how the social media tied web pages with a world time stream and a group of people who like and follow you, it may help you a lot to identify with your old school classmates. You see, it's not all about you. Everyone has their own reasons and causes for being where they are in their lives. Many people we used to see in our lives are set back, away in the mix. They enjoy blending in and taking in the common denominator media, enjoying the vista, the sweetest experience. Others may identify more as laid back. These might be special characters who somewhat carry an entourage around themselves. Others may just be hooked up and ready to go. They might be hard workers, and then are more down for sports and nightlife. Of course, I think that the status quo in America is going to be, for the most well-adjusted, married with children. If you're eccentric, or worse, and you know you are, you would think twice before having kids. You might never marry or get a permanent partner. This is myself. In fact, I stayed in a county group home. But I might wind up in a private boarding or foster home with others like myself. The mental health care system can help facilitate this. The rules aren't hard to go by. But, as in any procurement, any mental illness, there will be stupid, tricky, and deceptive, wet and hanging around in the rafters. It really helps to know your own mind. Or that's part of why you're in a group home, in the first place. You're a content developer in your own image. And you're an original. If one is wise, one will see how the internet, the World Wide Web, makes the world into a kind of a book, and recording contracts for everyone. Affair. Man, if our middle 20th century writers and producers could have seen this. The future's bright. The power's in everyone's hands. At any rate, these are just a few ideas. I'm maybe getting onto paper my weekly story, like many others will be getting their weekly stories down. Just how many of us are there who journal? Who consult their inner spiritual resources? How many lives do we daily touch? At any rate, these words echo some of my Plato's book. I've lived on the Cumberland Plateau, in northeast Alabama, for years and years in my recent past. Others are around the Ozarks, in the Midwest. You see, property and rental rates are lower on the highlands because of the storm risk they get sometimes, but this makes property values lower. I'm in the lowland now, though. Anyways, I hope that you can see some good ideas in this writing. Maybe you've found some personal direction. Well, I like having the equity. At the end of this day, if I have something to show for the time, that's my biggest objective. Maybe you'll be like us someday. Maybe you'll write yours out, too, and build into a gradual development onto the page. But, anyways, I'll slow down and catch my breath and see how this article is coming along. Now, all for now, Greg. The time is almost 9:30 p.m. on a Friday evening, the last one in January this year. I've just gotten back from our dining room area, where I waited in line to get my evening medicines and a bedtime snack. I sit lazily adding ideas into this writing and thinking about tomorrow. Tonight will be cold, into the 20s. Getting colder over the next 2 nights. Anyways, it's good to be indoors and warm. I'm sleepy and get to bed the next morning, and I'm very glad to have this writing started and along. This is all I want to do, this getting down of my thoughts. I'm enjoying this writing while I sit at our kitchen table, looking out the back door at the nature. My bird feeder is getting plenty of visitors, and they seem to like the seed brand. They're finicky and don't like some brands. They don't like nuts, such as peanuts or fruit in the mix. They won't eat that. But they like this fine. Well, today's a good morning. Our weather is so cold and windy this morning. I can't hardly imagine having to hike 10 miles in this. This wind is freezing and goes right through my clothing. There are some cuckoos in the clock recently, and our system is frequently critical of these. This makes the overall politics seem so contrary and divided. There are forces in our lives, in particular our carnivorous diets, which sometimes keep us enveloped in dark and confused issues and disagreements. I think that this is our dinner disagreeing with ourselves. Nothing else much makes sense. Nature is a strong force. This is true. I sit mulling over these ideas, with my hands resting on my word processor keyboard, and letting the thoughts of the moment go on to my pages. Today is the last day in January this year. I'm very glad to have ideas in my heart this morning. I lived just years in memory, with an unwilling mind, which wouldn't share it with myself, and which wouldn't allow itself to, or care to be written. My life was empty, and based around non-socially acceptable stimulants and inebriants. Drinking binges were the high points of any week. I had no art, or writing onto a page. I recollect these dark years to relay to my reader how good attracts good, and dark creates and attracts still more darkness. If you've got a willing spirit, this is really the aim of life. Some are really alienated from their better halves. At any rate, this morning, our work is light. I have only to gradually build this writing, to be given the real program today. Of course, there's sweeping, mopping, and other chores that are calling me. But, we're fairly caught up with housework right now. I think it's better to finish this writing, and get such squared away, and added in I've no place to be but here, since we've gotten our weekly store trip in already. So, I feel especially contented, in numerous ways. Good recent visual art, and music as well. And this writing is sufficing so well, to make me contented and happy in my life, this morning. Such good that do around nothing, is an idea which I've kept for so long. This writing fits that description very well, and I'm very glad to have it. So, I can't possibly take this pleasant state, or time for granted. Well, I seem to be coming to the general conclusion of this writing, now, so I'll finish it up, and add it in with the others. Now, all for now, Greg. Till then I sit, this morning at this word processor screen and approached some thoughts of this day. We're at 40 degrees and slightly overcast skies now, and we're somewhat relieved to find that the coming week's outlook isn't as bitterly cold as we thought it would be. With our daytime temperatures up into the 40s and 50s, this is more like a southeastern winter as we remember it. I think it's frustrating to have to think about aging, decay, and death. But, sadly, I'm afraid that that's what people see. Then they look at someone of my age or older. The makeshift, temporary predicament. However, in reality, I think that God sees our inner light and doesn't notice wrinkles or gaunt appearances. So, we should try and see as God sees and refrain from criticizing the decay in us. You'll amaze yourself at what an elderly person can accomplish, sometimes as miraculously, and without too much effort. I think that what we're up against is elder discrimination, and that our culture, with its emphasis on youth and beauty, is kind of bad about this. I see in my age, though, a great sense of perspective. If it could be wrong to have seen too much, then those of our bracket might be so. I think that it's somewhat amazing to carry around so much acquired knowledge and wisdom. So, I think that we should always seek to resource our elderly people, and make use of the good eyes, and senses, and mind, for as long as we possibly can. So, journaling, such as this, for instance, for a person of any age, I think, is good, in that such fills us in as to the ascendant, well-aged perspectives. At any rate, we should make a point of refraining from prejudice toward the elderly. Our wisdom is self-evident. There should be a place for it in the conversation. I think that this is an important conversation to have, and to reinforce these ideas. Anyways, I'm waiting, now, in line to get my morning medicines, and I'll get right over to the office, and get them. After medicine, it took some time and work to get the apartment in a presentable condition. I somewhat got behind in the latest month or two. I tell my reader this, so as to give him or her a glimpse into our ordinary life here. Things in my life picture aren't just cookie-cutter provisions. Things require finesse. Some areas will always need extra attention. I'm constantly reminding myself of my dad's grandparents, and their somewhat lazy housework ways. Their house was where they lived their lives, not something they polished to sterile perfection. The work they did for the general public was their contributions to the community. A small general store where they sold their fresh vegetables and cornmeal which Granddad's brother made in the mill which he built. This is how they measured their lives, not by the spotlessness of their home interiors. So, it's similar for me, my works, and music, and art going up into the hands of readers is my personal validation. But my home housekeeping is more loose fit. It's just a place to spend some of my years on earth. So, I won't be elitist. I love nature, have some say. I love things lie where they are placed. This way I keep from crowding my housemate. I love the ecologies of eating and drinking containers have their own existence, without myself imposing rigid boundaries, or limits. This is a house that is lived in, and so it looks lived in. At any rate, it will never be as bad as it sounds, though. It's indeed just loose fit. At any rate, our beginning gray skies have turned high blue-white, and our temperatures are mild this morning. I am constantly reminding myself to practice my sun salute, mentally raising my hands up past the sides of my head. This is my usual position, and any reinforcement I can't give toward this type of yoga. Things in your thought life are just what you say they are. The inner reality which we tell ourselves, and repeat about, is in actuality all the reality that we face. Saying that a thing is, makes it so. Anyways, I usually have a verbal mantra which I'm repeating, and it will be accompanied by a mental visualization. Saying the thing, and visualizing such. This, so as to harness the downward weight and pressure of atmosphere, biosphere, and beingness. The downward friction, and pulling of all objects which possess mass sufficient to be caught in the pull of their planet. Outside of this mass, gravity isn't a factor much. This writing is coming along. I just commonly hop, or leap, from topic to topic, covering many various life subjects in the space of a single article. I tell you this so that you don't think that writing is a retelling, or reciting directly from heaven down into my notebook. I'm myself building this article, with the inner assistance of my own family elders. those who have passed beyond, and others around their lives. Great meaning and significance permeates any article's writing. Individual writers aren't just anonymous forces, but certain helpers will offer assistance, and this will be from where strength is derived. I hope you see that nothing is done of itself alone. Interconnectedness and community are what our lives are based in. At any rate, having just read back across these words makes me proud and relieved to be in possession of such a strong voice. Such is the sum total of my inner psyche, my recent remedies, things I am going by, the recent week's experience, and what I've produced, if anything. This is from where I speak. Well, these have been just a few words into my word processor. I'll send them along your way now. All for now, Greg. Till then I sit here, this first Thursday in February, this year, and see just what speech might be just beneath the surface of my mind, this morning. I'm certainly glad, by now, to have seen enough of what the world can do to an otherwise good morning, to stay safely clear of those who seek harm. I enjoy the work that I do, and this morning, such informed me much better than so many who are caught up in acerbic, hateful social critiques. But now you can look and listen at almost anything which I've ever had any part of whatsoever, and find the pretty nice guy. It sure is good to be so much better than those who speak with critical and fork-fed tongue. I'm just kidding. I know that some people are paid to be funny, and to deconstruct our society, our illusions, and prejudices, and biases, but this which my work is emblematic of speaks, I think, of a simple goodness, and for this I am endlessly proud. At any rate, I can easily avoid being in a self-congratulatory way, though, by mentioning our weather this morning, which is so good. We here have got temperatures at just under freezing, and our skies are expected to be partly to mostly sunny, with highs in the 40s, 50s, and 60s through the rest of the week. So, for ourselves, a typical southeastern winter, which isn't bad at all. But we usually get lots of cold rain throughout February and March, so we're really blessed enormously by the dry time we're in, and tomorrow, our temperatures are expected to top out around 60 or better. It sure is good to have a willing spirit, and do not be sick. Well enough to get this clear, direct writing down, and to know that I'm not acting in deceit, or pulling punches in any way. I'm just giving myself some straightforward signposts. That's all. That's not unusual for me, this simple straightforward style, that tries to shine the clear light of peace and contentment with its readership, and with its own self. Stand-up comedians, and others who are assigned to poking fun at ourselves, don't always have the great luxury of being decent. Instead, trying to make people laugh. Most of us don't actually have to come out against hypocrisy, but some of us actually are hypocrites. Does that make any sense? I think that a good God must see a lot of trouble down here on earth, and must have had to learn to be, above all else, tolerant, no matter the evil. We sometimes think that we understand the mistakes people make down here on this planet, and what people were thinking. But their bad attitude is between themselves and their God. We mortals, I think, are about repairing the damage, and getting back to ordinary life. Not holding a grudge against someone who made a fatal mistake, who acted out of anger or rage, who died, or lost their freedom, or their job, from that mistake. At any rate, I'm again grateful to have another start on a good news article. This gives me something promising to be around, as times sometimes seem forbidding, and psychic symptoms seem to mount. Who do we have to believe in, if not us in our own good work? I sit here and write, as I await my dad's return from our grocery store with some groceries. I'm spending time here with him in his town, and will return to my town in 2 days. I'm going to enjoy the time away, and think of it as a retreat from the hassles of my usual living. In assigning blame, or causes for bad things that happen in our lives, we want to try and remember not to make troubles from out of thin air. Especially if we're the one who's having the same, or similar symptoms. A good time here is a good time here, no matter what happens elsewhere, is what I tend to think about it. Our weather, this weekend, is expected to initially be blustery and warm tomorrow night into Saturday. Our forecasters are giving us the proverbial spring comes early forecast. and such will include the share of rainy storms and temperatures that are more like middle March than February. So, our winter this year is getting mostly blown away, like downy thistles into the early spring breezes. At any rate, my dad made it back fine, and brought me back a few blank CDR, so that I can put my new record on them for people. Well, I'll find a stopping point, and rest for a while, and return to this writing later, after dinner. Now, and I'm somewhat mulling over some of what the latest news is telling us, and weighing these perceptions somewhat with what my inner weathered vein is saying. How does my mustache feel these things to be comparing, relatively, with my fur-lined inner esophagus? Doesn't this all hinge respectively on my person's local weather forecast? Whether the roads and bridges will be safe for travel with the winter precipitation? These questions, and others, are on my mind, and I relate them here, so that you understand how our lives are kept close tabs upon by the spiritual powers that be, and if I find myself in this spiritual conversation, I might be or become more concerned about my inner well-being than, say, about making wise professional decisions, or necessarily how to earn a living, much less than about travel destinations, or sports events, or gambling, such as casinos or sports betting. I think that this is why so many complex and inward-looking people are right where I'm at. The public healthcare system, in particular the mental healthcare system, many of us will rely on these as we would a husband or a wife. The Social Security Administration was established by Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1935 as part of his New Deal in the Social Security Act of that year. At any rate, the evening has gotten along, and I'm starting to get sleepy. I was thinking about those who we have lost, people who have ascended and gone up to heaven. The thing that takes courage to see is that in death, we may enter the lighter, redder embodiment in the human imagination. You see how by having trusting relationships with those who have gone before us in life, we can bring forth literature and art, the likes of which the world has never seen before. But this really takes having an honest, trusting relationship with at least some of those who have passed away. To do the kind of work you're trying to do, to move the reader's heart, soul, mind, and spirit, such requires this spiritual concert with the ascended ones. Well, I hope that I haven't scared anyone talking about ghosts which inhabit the human imagination, but having just recently lost my dear mom, I feel a sense of truth and empowerment when I can sketch a well-rounded view of what appears to lay ahead for the grieving, in life and in death. And I understand this to be best expressed as in the common bond, as that found between a shepherd and his sheep, or as in among equals, beneath a guide, or a manager, in his or her loving care. This is a pondering, also, and a considering of the type of friendship, and togetherness, and love which never ends. However, the communion. Simply, this is eternal life, as we mortals can find it. And that's good news. At any rate, these ideas appear to be coming to a logical conclusion in through here, so I'll wrap them up, and add in with the others. All for now, Greg. Till then, I'm going to start out writing this sunny, chilly Sunday morning, and see what it is that arises to the surface of my mind. I think that the last essay was a good one. Such started out pondering over just how bad it feels to be made fun of in the late-night television show area. You'll know it if this happens to you. Such is one of those things that you feel. Whether this is based in self-delusion, paranoia, or whatever. But I mean that some people are assigned to the job of finding humor in ourselves. The funnier, the more outrageous the kick, the better. But, at any rate, I quickly got over my differences, as soon as I realized that what was coming through my stylus was also real, in its own way, and it became what I choose to worry about, or don't choose to worry about. I realized that my job is my voice, and my attitude, and not to worry about what others say. At any rate, I seem to have concluded the previous article by stating that the most important guidance might just be, don't be a hypocrite. The reason that I feel this way is because I know how difficult it is to practice what we preach. Any teacher, or guide, or minister should see the peril in saying one thing and doing another. This is just almost the central concern of a religious walk, if you ask me. Of course, I use the example of myself. In particular, there's the problem of how do I exist when I'm on waving hands smiling terms with tonight's dinner. If this isn't the darndest thing, then I don't know what is. There it is, human greed and excess. So, for myself, I've seen the end of all hypocrisy. I just might not realize such yet. Actually, the issue will always be myself. Indeed, I appear to be the problem. Just, how are you today? And also, do you taste good? Okay, I see the matter. Now, it's not just me, it's the latest generational division, playing out before my mind's eye. Some of us are soft. That's all I know to say about it. Why am I writing in this way? I think that I'm just recapping yesterday's writing. So, what do you hope to possibly gain by writing in this manner? I'm hoping that this will be the day that me or someone like me will conclusively make veg and vows. I guess that I'm so used to eating what is served to me, to eat, that I'm having some trouble with this. I'll always be a carnivore. I can't get around it. But why can't I resolve to keep my diet closer to the reverence for nature, and never get into the slaughtering of animals for my meals? So, such is a vow I make time and again. And I might be making it anew. I'm finding it challenging, keeping my mental balance in this world, and the only clear way, now, is bare hand. These ways will be scoffed at. My deep gravity is such only for show. So why don't I just renew my vows? At any rate, you can easily see the way that my mind delves upon its own self. As my society once again goes through the throes of self-denial, and another child finds a home that isn't made of straw alone, but which is more built of stone. This children's story of the three little pigs is one that plays out in various ways. I might just make it past this craziness when I can dispense with my migraine on a morning like this one. Such may require squaring off with my chewing teeth and biting myself by centering my person between my upper and lower chewing teeth, and letting this be the lesson how I'd rather consume my own fat than kill and eat one who is so kind and gentle. Maybe the question is, how do we stance ourselves to a world which would rather eat us than be eaten by us? Do you see the need for holding the philosophical high ground now? Do you see the need for the downbeat? I can't walk myself through a discourse such as this one, but can I learn and acquire the lessons such teaches? Why can't I choose the virgin path to the exclusion of meat? Or do I even believe in my own inner experiential journeys? Is my life so devoid of meaning? People have been asking themselves this question since the dawn of time, and I'm no different. I'm wanting to stay on the side of clarity and discernment, so I'll let the half-hearted ways come to their own ends. Anyways, this is the second article by myself in the recent memory to cover this subject matter. To have heard the clarion call for more gentleness and goodness and for less regret in our daily diets. So you see, well, it's good for myself to better articulate, I would say, the precise nature of my worries on a morning like this one. So, but not everyone will be at a place like this one, mentally. Some will be making vows to avoid alcohol, or to give up promiscuous behavior in the sexes, or to keep from harming your lungs with tobacco, or else will be resolving to lose weight and exercise more regularly. These four are probably the most common throughout our society, but they're just examples. What matters is what matters to you, personally, not what others tell you you're supposed to feel. At any rate, I can't tell if this article is nearly finished now, so I'll wrap it up and put the standard conclusion on such, and send it along your way now. All for now, Greg. Till then, as I sit this sunny and cool second Monday in February this year, I'm impressed with the silliness and futility of some paths. For instance, why? If no, then why? At any rate, I guess that people have got to hear you say, never mind. My mistake for thinking that. At any rate, someone like myself just wants to be done with part-way bargains, and just then let me get back to doing what I'm best at. Then, I guess that I'll be past the hurdle. So, this is why I returned to my word processor screen this morning, so as to connect with the spiritual guardians which I've invested so much into. Someone would ask, how do you know the difference? What makes one guide right Well, I would say, how we go by feel in life. The relationships which appear to be most lasting in discernment will be the ones to keep for yourself. If you're good at writing, and there doesn't appear to be any issues associated with such, then this is your best bet. If such gives you great pause, and there doesn't seem to be any end to the grief of such, then such might be suspect. You wouldn't want to do a thing in arts, music, or literature of any kind if the results you get were consistently unsatisfactory. You'll know the difference. These are the ways of your discernment. At any rate, I'm sitting here on this couch, shortly before our lunch, and when I get to go into town to pay the bill, I put some time into this writing so far this morning, and I have got 2 pages of material. I'm hoping that after lunch, I'll feel better about getting strong ideas on paper, and I'll find more concert. Until then, I'm somewhat on standby. I would say, though, that when a good answer to a thing arises, you'll see and feel the difference right away. It's always nice when the right stuff comes through, and I can see the real deal results. So, this is what I can't find now, so I'm glad to get along into this new article. There isn't any more difficulty, and I've gotten the good answers I wanted. At any rate, the course of my writing is getting a boost this week, because I'm migrating my offline writing to a new device. My old offline device was getting worn down at the connectors, so I could barely charge it anymore. It's good to be blessed with a new device. Look at it like this. I'm so blessed because I can remember how, back in my formative years, during the first decade after high school graduation, the only technology that was in my possession was my tape deck, and maybe my car radio. I think that, in the early 90s, the only people who had cellular phones were corporate executives and mobsters. I had only seen one cell phone before. It came with a company car that my dad was given to drive when he was a senior art director at an important ADA agency. It was enormous, nearly as big as a small suitcase. That must have been in the Middle Abbey's. At any rate, today nearly everyone has a telecommunications supercomputer in their shirt pocket. So, I guess that mankind has made it to the proverbial promised land. Our designers and engineers have taken the advancement of the use of electricity and electrical circuitry to a highly refined place. My writing from the first decade of this new century just didn't quite get this. I guess that I should have seen it coming, looking at the arc of the pace of microtechnology, but I never saw this kind of refinement and artificial intelligence in our communication devices. Our simple flip phones have become extremely powerful, burgeoning with this AI technology, and audiovisual productivity tools, such as word processors that know what you're writing before you write it, from their predictive text feature, to highly powerful cameras, and photo and video editing tools that would rival the technology of major studios in previous decades. So, this high technology, and its inexpensive ubiquity, somewhat coincide with my generation's finding of their voices, in so many ways. Maybe this is why our bracket was simply called Generation X. I can't think of a few other, less fortuitous reasons as well, but at least these don't seem to include the downfall of the kingdom, knock on wood. At any rate, these words are beginning to come to their logical ends now, so I'll wrap them up, and end with the others. Now, all for now, Greg. Tilda sitting down, to try and find the right words, for a morning like this one, I reconnect with my inner spirit, and remember just why I am upon this writing and artistic path in the first place. It appears that I can do all good things through God that is within me. I only have to set my goal to a certain thing, and I have a lot of intelligent, articulate potentialities ready to go. So, when other people bother me, and I feel like giving up, there will be inner motive power to do good despite controversy or adversity. The nature of my kind of depression is that my way appears lost and hopeless. Then the power of a good God lifts me up out of the shadows and murkiness. Depression doesn't last for long in a victorious life. At least this is the idea which most comes out at myself this morning. If I continue staying receptive and attenuated to what a good God can do in my life, I'll continue to find the benefits of such. The thing to remember, in a time such as this one, when self-criticism is so strong, is that the good Lord can't turn it around. But I think that I come to an existential crisis on a day like this one, when I'm doubting myself, and can't see across, and I mostly need to walk in faith. So, the problems of a solitary time of defeat only work in a roundabout way to strengthen myself. You see? So, this is how I can be happy in a time like this one. So, my problems are not what I thought they are. I think that they're only lessons in finding victory, despite strong self-doubts. I've myself never really written in such a reverent manner, in thought of such promises. I am finding more often how the Lord is so good in my life. I sometimes feel depressed and sad, and the heavenly light is so good in my heart, that the sadness doesn't stand a chance. I just returned from my middle day meal, and getting my medicine, and I've never been so impressed about how there appears to be a place for myself here, and most of the time, I find very normal inclusiveness, and beingness in the group here. This tells me that I'm surely doing something right, these days. I just can't say enough how good Spirit's presence is in my life. I watch how if there's a dim, but meaningful light in my life, shining like a window that is too high to reach, then the light through that window will mean much more to me than if I take it for granted, for instance. So, what we set our minds upon can be very important. Whether light or dark, I'm going through a sad time since loss of my mom, but I can't see that her way was to follow the faintest glimmer of light, and its hope and promise. I'm expressing gratitude to the good powers that be, which allowed me to have a small sacred time this afternoon at this word processor. Something must be working right. I somewhat agree that if the light is too high for me to reach, then it should be lowered. Or, how that might not be such an ideal situation. But, I myself usually have a good instinct for these kinds of migraines, as I feel this afternoon. There will be recordings, and recording archives going out to willing listeners all through each day. These days, I can't tell that someone to whom I relate has a confounding issue, or problem, and my entering their life path definitely may be a really good thing. So I put a lot of trust and faith in my own good system to quickly spot troubles and try and get them solved. But many kinds of static problems can only be helped by time and by the having of patience. Nothing much else will work, at any rate. So, any given afternoon, I have to be prepared for some chemical imbalance issues to come up, depending more or less on how listeners' problems do or don't affect me. Anyway, you get the idea how publishing is a complex kind of job, really an artistry, which tends to do better, really the less I know of the particularities of such. I'd do best to stay out of a good God's work. At least this is the way such appears to be to me. You know what is the thing that I'm most grateful for in my life on earth? I'm grateful that things stay where I put them. Things in the publishing world. I'm allowed to accomplish my objectives. And mostly, that this is the kind of universe where things stay where you put them, usually. See, I believe that our universe is a computer, and the memory makes things stay where you put them. If the memory was corrupted, or insolvent, then things would have ways of disappearing. But, me or you sure wouldn't want our things disappearing on us. I think that mainly I'm just given a sense this afternoon of a sort of false sense of chaotic malfunction burgeoning just beneath the surface of my life. I don't want to feel this way. But when a lot is happening in my publishing world, and a lot of archives are being downloaded, I might feel as if chaos and disunity is encroaching. When it might really not be doing that. We might be in a more stable time. For instance, my worrying might all depend on one wild variable. On one long odds that makes me worry too much. But, I'm just overthinking. I should get used to my work being popular to some readers, and having the readership because this is partly what this land's constitution was written for those with voices, and products which want to reach the thirsty world, with cool water, and America is just the right place for doing that kind of thing. I think that with my good God's help, I can really see my life and ways here as being like the glass half full, rather than half empty. Another metaphor might be the 100th monkey comparison. At a point, I will have made all of my obligatory mistakes, and I'll be more or less right by default, or I'll tend to stay on the side of the right as my basic modus operandi. Then my character won't cause any more troubles. Our community is always trying to grow, and learn, and adapt, and improve. Writers' communities also are doing this. The person has to come to terms with his or her self-isolating tendencies, because this can interrupt an otherwise good flowing, and put the person in the psychiatric hospital. And you might not see it coming. Your self-isolating ways might have you fooled. You might have an episode, or a psychotic break, that you didn't see coming. This happened to me not once but twice. Anyways, I can't see these ideas coming to their eventual conclusion in through here, so I'll wrap them up, and edit with the others. Now, if you can't find these words, and if they make sense to you, then at least for ourselves, the good forces have won out. Occasionally, I get the sense that the darknesses in our lives are worse on one day more than another, but in actuality, both days are perfect for doing all of the good things that will make our lives go fine now, and we can be entirely happy. Today is just as good a day as has ever been, ever. So, I'm going to find a way to be happy. That's all there is to it. Well, I'll wrap these ideas up, and add them in with the others. Now, all for now, Greg. Tilda sitting down, this third Sunday morning in February, to peer into what is in my mind. I know that I am glad for the nice partly sunny weather today. And I think to myself, that one would want an umbrella, because the chances for rain and storms appear good. We've got a messy bunch of warm winter precipitation in our region, and these are known for being blustery. But, it's not as if I should turn my computer off right now. I think that it will be fine to wait until the weather gets obviously worse. On a morning like this one, though, I do tend to stay attuned to our ordinary flowing, but I find that I'm greatly enjoying the audiobook playing lightly in my earphones. I get a snack from the kitchen at around 20 minutes to 11 a.m., and then return to my writing couch, to see what is on my writer's mind. Now, not much in the way of writing gets done in this morning, so I'm really approaching it later in the day. I'm thinking that this writing will take me closer to the finishing of this part 4 of this Reflections of Soul audiobook. But, it would be in the range of a 10-minute article which would be necessary to finish up this chapter, so as words are coming somewhat slowly, this evening, I'm given to think that it will take 2 articles of some length to finish. I'm sitting back on my writing couch with my word processor keyboard on my lap, to see if there is any thinking beneath the surface of my mind, this evening. Some time has passed, and it's nearly medicine time, on this partly cloudy, warm, February evening. I'm finding that the technology which I've procured for myself to perform certain tasks, namely portable playback of music and data CDs, works much better, really, than I've given it credit for. I can drop this palm-sized EED player into my pocket, and it will play any good CD I put in it. Indefinite playtime is fine, and it will just repeat itself. This device has a kind of halo around it, and I'm reluctant to put it through its paces, and just make the usage of it. But as I get used to it, and bond to it more positively, I think that it will hold up to regular usage. I've needed a personal device which will play data CDs, and this is it. Well, time is getting along, and writing this article is slow going. But, I can't just see my way to finishing this latest chapter, in the course of this article, and maybe one more. Well, we here should have partly sunny skies, and high temperatures around low 70s throughout this coming week. So, another one of those mild Februaries. Winter usually is so many cold miserable days, though, and I expect that some will come in late February, early March. Sometime, it's just not clear when. Our supper time was good this evening. We were served chicken and dumplings, and mixed vegetables. It seemed perfect for a night like this one. I'll be glad to start a new word week, and I'm eager to find some projects to apply myself to. In particular, it will be good to get my piano out, and try and take the lessons of the last 2 CDs, and make some sort of compliment to them. I've learned that anything non-typical, or non-conventional, stylistically, I tend to shine best with. So I'm going to be more adventurous in terms of generating abstract sounds, which a mind can rest in without any thought of the typical modes or figures even entering. I think that the more abstract and non-representational my playing can get, the better. I think that purely ambient and space-sentient playing, done in conscious participation with the spatio-spiritual fabric, should be my priority. Not typical or conventional modalities, but atypical modes. At any rate, I'm fairly eager to get some of these sounds onto media, and we'll do this soon. At any rate, our evening has fallen now, and our time is nearly at 8 p.m. I have to go get my evening medicines, but I'm reluctant to leave this sweet group. It will be good to be in for the night afterward. I would have to say that to be living this life is just incredible. Being at the helm of so much self-made literature is an unbelievable privilege, and I have got to tell of it. There was more than a decade of blind, restless wandering, going back into my early teens. I could never have dreamed of such glorious, yet anonymous success. Yet here it is. Well, I've told of this wonder now, and those who read this will hear. I must be near zenith in my career span, for sure. It's always nice to think how almost certainly no one in my midst has any inkling of my prolific output, so this is a good thing to me. A very small piece of makeshift paradise, if you ask me. Well, I can't get these ideas finding their conclusions now, so I'll wrap them up and send along your way now. All for now, Greg. Tilda, today is Monday morning, the third one in February this year, and I've been up already since early, and have gotten over to the office for my medicines, and returned to the apartment. I'm looking into this flowing of language onto my page, and can't tell a great deal just by seeing the strength with which these thoughts arise. I can't conclude that we've got everything in good shape, and God's Spirit is telling me that she's in control, and can easily advance my writing along ahead. For this, I'm very grateful, and proud to be in such capable hands. This all appears to send away my worry and concern about the time. I know enough about a Monday like this one to know that I should start this writing, and keep my wheels turning. This I think is important. Just having an outlet such as this one is really the answer to life's main struggles. So many folks simply lack the purpose and meaning in their lives to just put together a new beginning, in starting the new week. Most people are on the downside of a writer's block. Most people you meet at a life station similar to this one are predominantly social beings. These look to their usual relationships in their living. When a person's foremost relationship is with someone who has passed beyond this physical plane, then everything turns around and is based upon, is there any audiovisual developing happening right now? Are you in the arms of our media content developing society? Or do you wish to be? There will be a distance, herein. Or else there will be little separation between self and the promises of healthy living. Having a gift of some sort is definitely something to cultivate and nurture. Many families are based around the possession of these gifts. And the most important gifted may not even know that their talent is the focus and the objective of life. I stayed somewhat in my self-imposed ignorance up until around age 23, at which point I began learning gradually of the ways of the Spirit. Everyone's course will be different and unique. But, for myself, the initiating of this consciousness awareness program, and joining in with at least one higher ascended guide, or spirit, quickly became my full focus, and I found myself in an agitated, irritable state. This, of course, required its own medication. So I used inebriants and ephedrine stimulants to relieve me of this pain and anguish. After this time began, my life was geared around alleviation of my pain and suffering. Nothing much else could interest me. So of course, drinking and consuming inebriating medicines became foremost in my life. Agent. 6 years later, I was allowed a more or less full release from this suffering, which for my purposes, was a profound, sweeping, life-changing experience in itself. But, I must have thought that the road ahead would be easy, then. Because I, within 5 years, started back drinking and doping, yet again. In fact, I had a total wipe out, in 2003, and nearly died. I came to the pivotal conclusion, then, that group home living was going to have to be my main modality in my living. There was no other way. So, this is what made the difference. At that point, my healing really came through for me, because I knew then that fully independent living would only ensnare me in drinking and pill abuse time and again. So, this was like making the crucial connection, and after this time, my life has been mostly happy, and in the company of others like myself, focused on sobriety, and on keeping the group's standards. This is what saved me. There wasn't any other way. I just had to quit hoping for the heights of independence, and face the fact that there would be no more drinking binges, or all-nighters. I had to stay clean, or else face death. At any rate, I'm writing these thoughts to somewhat square away the differences of this time, and to get my writing further along. I may be able to finish this book chapter with this article, so this is what I'm doing. I'm working for the finished equity, because that's where my values are at. When I can have something to show for the time, then I'll be really happy with the time. It's one thing to have instruments, and devices, and appliances, but without motivation to do good work for yourself, nothing will happen. Without a concerted program of journaling, or building, in the basic sense, as in with words, or sounds, or as in visual expression, then your time may become stagnant and non-productive. There's a shift we make, in living, to this thing of the actual finished equity as the foremost goal in life, which is a most important thing to know, if you ask me. At any rate, I'm fairly thrilled to have this new article started, and I can now work on such across the day. This all, so as to deal with the time that this is, and do not miss the opportunity for positive growth today. It's good to see some definite plan in my approach to things now. Anyways, our skies are clear and blue, our temperature is cool and comfortable in the sun, and we've got a nice rhythm of self-care and personal hygiene this morning. After that we'll have some lunch, and be ready for the afternoon. I should be more finished with this work by then, and can hopefully produce my finished chapter 4. Well, it's nearly our lunch break time, and then we'll have the afternoon. I put an audio CD in my handheld player now, and focus on finishing this article. Now that lunch is behind us, we're freed up to work on whatever is in our minds presently. I'm nearly done with this, so I set my sights next on getting the finished part 4 completed. Well, I guess that I should be done with this by around 3 o'clock break, and I'll be able to rest and relax. I hope that my reader has found what he or she likes in this writing, and can get along into whatever else they wish for. I'll somewhat finish these thoughts up, and add them in with the others. Now, all for now, Greg.